Today we will talk about what's new in deliverability. We'll start with, of course, the Yahoo and Google changes from last year. What's happening there? What's the aftermath? We'll discuss the major updates they rolled out and how they impacted all senders. We will also discuss the state of deliverability in 2025, and will provide an overview of the current landscape and what trends are shaping it at the moment. We will also, of course, talk about the metrics that matter, because open rates alone won't cut it anymore. We'll break down which metrics really matter for success and how you can track them effectively. And I will also share some guidelines and practical steps for you to build a long-term email strategy to future-proof your email marketing efforts. And of course, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Please bring your questions, and I will do my best to bring the answers to you. So let's start with what changed in the email landscape in 2024. It was, let's say, a very eventful and intense year for everyone in the industry. We all know already that these new bulk sender requirements we mention all the time are not actually new. They've been existing as best practices in the industry for years, but we are now finally see them enforced and can actually track what is happening when more senders are following them. And the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about the changes, that is, and what changed actually is, we now have better DMARC adoption. This was actually one of the main reasons why these new requirements had to be enforced. And we see that more senders finally adopted DMARC, making the internet safer place. Does this mean? This means fewer phishing attacks, fewer spoofing attempts for everyone out there. However, for senders, it also means that email authentication has become non-negotiable. And if you still haven't authenticated your sender domain, I advise you to hurry up and contact your our support team, of course, for assistance, because this is only the first step of the process. And if you want to start sending successfully and landing in the inbox, the first step is to have your own domain authenticated. The mailbox providers currently require the policy that is the least secure. The minimum required is for you to have DMARC with policy none. But they announced multiple times over the past few months that they are already discussing more strict rules that will require sender to move to the two stricter policies. These are the quarantine and the reject policy. So what I'm saying here is that changes won't stop. The email landscape is continuing to evolve. New requirements will continue to come in, and all senders must be up to date and follow what's happening if they want their emails to land in the inbox of their recipients. So that's for the first major change we see. The next one is also very impactful, and it's related to sender's responsibility. Now there's a lot more responsibility on the sender side. Mailbox providers are now holding senders accountable for their own traffic. And this means that if your practices are not good enough, you have poor list hygiene, you have spammy content, you're going to face deliverability issues. And also, domain reputation has never been more important for inbox placement. And this trend is definitely here to stay in 2025 and the years to come. Mailbox providers tolerate less and less emails coming from shared domains that are not clearly corresponding to the brand's website and business. And here, my suggestion will be, if you are still using a shared domain in Omnisend, please consider moving your traffic to your own sender domain. That will be the best thing you can do for your deliverability. And of course, maybe that's the most important one that is definitely here to stay. This is the user engagement. Engagement metrics are now the gold standard for determining email relevance. And without good engagement, even perfectly authenticated emails can fail. So all these efforts you put into authenticating your domain with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC won't be enough for you to land in the inbox if you do not have good user engagement. And this also means that you will hear me say engagement way too many times during this webinar, but please bear with me, it's really important. If there is just one word that you remember out of this should be engagement. It's really, really important. So now, let's see what can we expect to happen in the email world in 2025. I will go through these three main trends that I'm seeing. First one is email filtering algorithms. These days, filters are getting smarter than ever. And as I mentioned earlier, they're focusing heavily on engagement signals. We'll, of course, dive deeper into this in the next slide, but just for you to be aware, consistent, high-quality emails will thrive, while the rest could struggle a lot. Next one is subscriber behavior trends. Subscribers these days are becoming way more protective of their own personal data. You probably already noticed that. And they're very selective about what lands in their inboxes. They have much higher expectations, and meeting them will require more effort from US centers. So strategies that worked for you, for your entire audience, I mean, in the past, might not be that efficient now because of the different preferences and also the difference in every user's behavior. Another trend that is shaping now and again, that's engagement, deliverability, connection. It is getting stronger and stronger. The link between how people interact with your emails and how mailbox providers treat your domain has never been stronger. Positive engagement will always elevate your reputation, while lack of it will hold you back for sure. No matter how beautifully you craft your emails, if you are authenticated or not, if your own audience do not react to what you're sending, then you risk for the majority of your emails to land in the spam folder. And in the next slides, I hope I will provide good enough tips for you to stay out of there and land only in the inbox of your recipients. Starting with email filtering algorithms, what's new there? We know that mailbox providers are evolving, and of course, so are the anti-spam filters and algorithms that are responsible for the inbox placement. I'll go through the main changes we see these days, and of course, as I promised, we're talking about engagement again. Engagement-based filtering is not so new, but very enhanced these days. Providers are looking at how subscribers interact with your emails, and they're looking at way more signals that you probably realize. The two main types of signals are, of course, positive and negative ones. Positive engagement signals are, for example, open and clicks. These are the signals the majority of the senders track and analyze on a daily basis. And these are the ones that we actually see. Same goes with replies. If you add reply to address and people send replies to this address, this is a positive signal for the inbox providers that people are engaging with your content. And for the three of these, opens, clicks, and replies, you have data on your end. It's visible, you can track it. But at the same time, there are also signals that mailbox providers track on their end, but do not provide information to the senders. One of these is categorizing. Actions like moving an email from the spam folder to the inbox are telling the mailbox providers that your email should go to the inbox. That's their right place. This is helpful to deliverability, particularly when a lot of recipients are doing it. That's very important. The more people place your email either out of the inbox or out of the promotion tab, the more positive signals you are giving to the mailbox provider and better reputation they will assign to your domain. Forwarding is another positive signal that you are not aware about, but it exists and it adds good points to your sender reputation. Yeah, you can actually use both of these. I've seen cases where brands do one-time mistake. They send a campaign by mistake, or they have a technical issue of some kind, and they harm their domain reputation. A lot more emails start to land in the spam folder, but at the same time, they're good senders and they keep very close relationship with the audience. What they did was to just kindly ask their recipients if they see an email from them in their spam folder to move it to the inbox. And that actually works. If you're really close with your audience, you can sometimes, in case of trouble, something happened, you can ask them to do that, and it gives really positive signals. With forwards, you can also play like that. You can create some kind of incentive to the people to forward emails to friends, to share some interesting insights, and that will definitely boost your domain reputation. And of course, with the positive signals, it comes the negative signals as well. Most of them are pretty obvious. You have marking emails as spam. You normally see spam complaints in your statistics. That's true for most of the mailbox providers except Gmail. I will talk about that more in the next slides. The main difference is that Gmail is not showing individual spam reports to you. They show aggregate ones in their Google Postmaster Tools dashboard. So if you want to see those, you need to create an account there and register your domain. But spam is still a signal you're aware about. At the same time, again, there are negative signals you do not notice, but they add negative points to your domain reputation. One of the strongest ones is deleting emails without opening them. And we recently had a discussion with other industry experts. Mailbox provider shared that the most common action they see from their users is not opening emails or marking them as spam. Maybe 80 or 90% of the emails are actually deleted without being opened. So that is happening probably way more than we realize. And it's not good for our domain reputation. Again, what's the way around that is providing content that your subscribers cannot skip. They want to open it and interact with it. And there's a similar action, creating filters to automatically delete or archive messages from a sender once they are received. That basically means the same. You do not want to open an email from a specific sender. You want to archive it immediately or delete it. To continue with the major changes in the algorithms, there is an increased weight on sending patterns. Consistency now is crucial. We know for a fact that mailbox providers love consistency and are not at all fans of any kinds of spikes. If you suddenly send, for example, 10 times your normal volume, you should definitely expect spam foldering. That's for sure. And this means that you need to plan your campaigns in advance very carefully, spread them throughout the week or the month or whatever your email strategy and scheduling is. But never send to your entire audience at once. That can be very damaging for your reputation, especially if this is not your usual behavior. And one additional pro tip from me, you can even split your daily campaigns into smaller lots and schedule them in different time slots. You still have the entire campaign sent, just not at once. Part of it will be sent in the morning, another part in the afternoon, etc. But that will make you way more flexible as a sender, and you make a good impression to the mailbox providers for sure. And next one, that is again getting traction, is the content relevance. That is a trend that comes thanks to the AI enhancement algorithms are way more better now at understanding your content. So overly generic and irrelevant campaigns are more likely to be deprioritized, and more relevant campaigns, on the other hand, that are very clearly coming from your brand and are relevant to your business, have higher chances to end up in the inbox. Your emails should always feel like they were written just for your specific audience. And sometimes URLs in the content that do not correspond to your website, affiliate links, or other type of URLs can play a role in the inbox placement. They can be viewed as suspicious by the mailbox provider, and you may suffer spam foldering because of that. So that's yet another reason for those who are still using shared domain to change that. Contact our support team and get help in getting your old domain added and authenticated in your Omnisend account. That's pretty important and will boost your results for sure. And what we can take away from this entire slide, like in just one sentence, that will be always aim for meaningful engagement and steady sending habits. That's really a key. Continuing now with the 2025 trends in the subscribers' behavior. We mentioned that mailbox providers are changing and evolving, filters are changing and evolving, and subscribers are also changing. They're changing their preferences. and they have much higher expectation now. So we need to keep up with this trend and deliver what they want so we can get good results. First one is privacy protection. It is continuing to be a very hot topic in the industry. As I mentioned, subscribers care way more about their privacy now, and tools like Apple's and Gmail's mail privacy protection make, unfortunately, open rates not really reliable anymore. If you still rely mainly on your opens and click rates to measure your campaign success, I advise you to reconsider that and that practice and focus more on metrics like conversions, for example, conversion rates. This is way more reliable, of course. And the other thing is trends over time, how your metrics look like in the long run. Do you see increase or decrease somewhere? That's way more reliable than looking only into the specific numbers. But yeah, I'll talk more about this topic a bit later. Now let's focus more on the other trend, which is the usage of mobile devices. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, over 70% of the emails are read on mobile. This means that a mobile optimized design isn't optional anymore. It's mandatory for everyone who is sending emails. I highly recommend that you test your emails on different devices to ensure they look great everywhere. And of course, with our awesome campaign builder, it's really easy to do that. So make the most out of it, use it, test it carefully, each one of your campaigns, and make sure the mobile version looks good. And the next trend we'll talk about is the hyper personalization. Generic emails are out these days. Like even simple personalization like hello name isn't working anymore. And here, if I can give you one advice, that will be the data you have about your users is one of your biggest advantages. So use the most out of it to highly personalize the experience of your audience and to send tailored contents. This will always bring higher engagement, and with higher engagement there you will see, of course, higher return of investment, which is what we want to achieve with email marketing. So yeah, this is a fact in 2025. Try to try to make your emails and your campaigns as tailored as possible for your audience. And let's go back to engagement. You already got the vibe. It's the future of email deliverability, and engagement in deliverability from now on will always go hand in hand. I already covered the positive and negative signals. And mentioned that they can be separated in signals shared with the senders, like opens, clicks, click-through rates, sales, unsubscribe, spam, etc. And signals that are visible only to the mailbox providers, but are also very important. And these are signals like forwarding to a friend, moving an email to a different folder, or even deleting without opening. So now you probably ask yourself, okay, how to drive more positive engagement and get better domain reputation and inbox placement? For me, the two main areas you should focus on are list segmentation and relevance. Segmentation isn't just nice to have anymore, it's essential for all senders, and it goes hand in hand with relevance, of course. To have good engagement, you must send the right content to the right audience. Not everyone in your contact list will have the same interest, the same content preferences, or the same user behavior. Like some of the people might read their emails on a daily basis. Some of them might be checking their inbox on a weekly basis, which means that if you send them emails every day, at the end of the week when they open their mailbox, they might get overwhelmed. So you must be aware of their actions and their behavior. Some of them have separate mailboxes only for shopping or for subscribing to newsletters, and they act differently based on that. So I don't really have a right answer to the question how to segment. This is something very specific for your brand and your audience, and you really need to spend time and efforts monitoring what your subscribers like, how they behave, how they react to each one of your campaigns, and use this data to segment your list accordingly. And with that, when you send content that matches your audience's preferences, you see how your engagement metrics will increase over time and all your deliverability metrics will improve. That's for sure. And yeah, talking about metrics, let's see which are the ones that matter the most in 2025 and how to analyze them. Now that we have the foundation of building strong deliverability, we need to know how to track the results and how to adjust our strategy. Of course, in the marketing world, revenue is king. So the first key metric I mentioned here is, of course, revenue. But we should not ignore all other statistics that we have, like opens, clicks, spam complaints, unsubscribe, and bounces. They all separately and together in combination can tell us a lot about our traffic and where our emails are landing. We cannot know for sure how many of our emails land in the inbox or how many of them in the spam folder, but we can get very good hints if we carefully monitor and analyze our stats. So together, we'll reviewing each one of these together will give us the full story, the full picture. And you probably noticed in the open and click part, I added trends. Why I'm saying trends? It's mainly because of the fact that these days we cannot rely on open and click numbers anymore, like fully rely on them. I already touched on this, but part of it is the new privacy regulations. And on top of that, we also have something that we call prefetching. Prefetching affect both open and click metrics. And it causes what we call fake fake or bot opens and clicks. What happens in simple words is that sometimes the filters of the mailbox providers will go through the content of your email, will load the images in it, and will scan the URLs prior to delivering your message in the inbox or respectively the spam folder, depending on your domain reputation, which will cause the message to be displayed as opened or clicked or both in your campaign statistics. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that when the email is delivered, it will actually be opened and clicked by your subscribers. So open and click metrics might be misleading because of that. These checks usually happen a lot more when the sender domain is unknown, new, for example, or have questionable practices, or is causing some kind of sus- suspicious behavior. Like I told you, mailbox providers do not like spikes in the volume, or, for example, you trigger with a specific campaign spam high spam complaint rate. These suspicious actions can trigger the filters, and you might get lot more prefetched uh, emails because of that. So you might get more bot or fake opens and clicks in your statistics. That is why instead on focusing on the exact number or percentage of opens and clicks, we always advise our clients to look into trends over time. If your metrics are steady or showing improvement, this means that you are on the right track. You're doing good, you're following best practices, and you're probably landing in the inbox. But if you see a decline in your engagement metrics and your stats in general, that should be an alarm for you to start digging around for potential issues with your practices. For spam, I already talked a bit. We receive individual spam reports that you can find in your Omnisend statistics, and they come from providers like Yahoo, Microsoft, other smaller local providers. But on the other hand, we have Gmail that do not send individual reports. They display the spam rate only in Google Postmaster tool. So if you want to track what's happening with your campaigns, and especially if you have a lot of Gmail users in your list, you need to always check what's going on there, and always make sure you stay below the recommended threshold of 0.1%. You probably read already that the maximum threshold that Gmail allows is 0.3%. But if you are constantly reaching that threshold or go above it, you will most definitely face some deliverability issues and challenges. The recommended value they have is actually 0.1%. So when I talk to clients, I always give that threshold instead of 0.3. That's the number we should aim for always. With unsubscribes, my main advice here will be don't get scared. I've noticed that a lot of senders uh, do whatever they can to avoid unsubscribes. I've seen senders going above and beyond to hide the unsubscribe link, which in my opinion is very, very wrong practice. You need to make it very easy for your subscribers to unsubscribe if they want to. Even better if you give them the chance to tell you the exact reason they want to unsubscribe from your emails. But if you do it like this, if you make it easy for them, you will save yourself a lot of spam complaints, and spam complaints are way, way more damaging for your reputation and inbox placement than unsubscribe rates. In general, you must use them as a guidance. If you see that your unsubscribe rates are going up over time, this means you need to look into a few different patterns. Like, for example, one of the reasons might be that your frequency is too high, you're overwhelming your users, and they want to take a break. Or the content you're sending to the specific audience might not be the right one for them. Maybe they want to receive something different. So in such cases, use the unsubscribe rate as let's call it red flag to look into things, but don't get scared about it. It's actually very valuable and can give you a lot of information about your traffic. And finally, bounces. Bounces, and here I'm talking mostly about hard bounces. These are the ones, the addresses that cannot be reached. Usually the reason is because they do not exist, or there is a typo in the email address, or sometimes the mailbox is full because this account was not used in more than 2 years. In these cases, what you need to do is to look into your list collection and list maintenance practices. If you see a lot of bounces, my first advice will be check your subscription methods. If you're using single opt-in, it might be a good idea to implement double opt-in subscription methods, so the users can verify their email address, and this way you will avoid typos, spam traps, all kinds of invalid addresses, sometimes bot attacks. For bot attacks in particular, it's also highly recommended to use captcha. But yeah, first line of defense against bounces will be your subscription methods. And then over time, the best approach for having a good list hygiene and avoid bounces will be to implement sunset policy and regularly remove unengaged and inactive contacts from your lists. That will be my advice for bounces. Now, I want to touch on a slightly different topic, that is the deliverability signals. And it's again related to looking into trends over time. Um, Another pattern that it's highly recommended for you to look out for is the different combination of multiple stats. For example, you see that you have low spam and low unsubscribe rates, and normally you should feel very happy about it, but at the same time you notice that your open rates are also going low. In that case, I would definitely check my practices, because in most of the cases I've seen, this is due to spam foldering. When the majority of your emails land in the spam folder, you will of course get less spam reports and less unsubscribe reports, because the people you're sending to will not see the email. It will be in the spam folder. And at the same time, of course, you will not have opens for the same reason. Like if your people cannot see your email, they cannot mark it as spam as well. So lack of spam and unsub complaints can actually be a bad thing if you also have low open rates. So these combinations is something you need to be very careful about. Sometimes high click rates with low revenue can also mean a negative signal. As I mentioned earlier, mailbox providers sometimes are scanning links if they find the content suspicious. And it might appear sometimes that you have pretty high click rate, which normally is exciting. Everyone wants to see that. But if this high click rate is not coming along with high revenue or other actions you ask the user for with the call to action button, then something suspicious is happening and you need to look into this, because you might be flagged on the mailbox provider's end. And now that we covered all these metrics, let's see what tools we can use to analyze them. My favorite one, of course, is Omnisend's new reporting. That's a great way to start. You have so much relevant data to work with there. And I highly recommend spending time in the deliverability tab, of course. And yeah, you actually get a lot of things there, but my favorite part is the delivery rate per destination. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see how your emails are performing with different providers like Gmail, Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, all other smaller local providers you are sending to. And why this is important? Sometimes it happens that senders have issues only with one specific destination, and if you see a general drop in all of your metrics and you do not have this breakdown per destination, you will waste a lot of time to troubleshoot the issue and find where the problem is. So with this breakdown, you actually can for second spot if you have issue with Microsoft, for example, because yeah, they're challenging destinations. Sometimes it happens that senders see issues only there, but are performing great with Gmail, Yahoo, and other providers. And they will be able to focus only on fixing the problem with Microsoft instead of wasting time on troubleshooting what else might be going on. Yeah, so that's why I love this part. And to go one step further, I advise all senders to register again their domain in Google Postmaster Tools. This is for me the easiest and most efficient way to see how you look as a sender in the eyes of Gmail. Since this is the biggest provider out there, and probably most of you have the majority of your contacts at Gmail, um, you can safely assume that if you're performing well there, you probably have similar results with other mailbox providers. And the opposite, if you see huge issues at Gmail, bad domain reputation, constantly high spam rates, then you can again assume safely that you might be getting issues with other providers as well. Of course, as I mentioned, sometimes it's possible to have a problem with one specific destination, but from my experience, Gmail is a very good starting point, and most of the time, what is true for Gmail is true for everything else. And we also have a very nice direct in-app integration with Google Postmaster tool. So if you want, you can easily connect your account and monitor everything directly in your Omnisend account. So if you need any assistance, you can again contact our great support team. They will be happy to help. Or you can check out our knowledge base. We have guys there that will also help you. And going to one of the most interesting parts, how to build a long-term email strategy that will work in 2025. To be honest, this is basically a wrap up of everything we went through so far. I will start, of course, with the list collection and list maintenance practices. That's the first step to have a healthy email program. First and most importantly, you need to have an opt-in checkbox or subscription form to collect consent from your subscribers. This, of course, can be a single or a double opt-in, or we also called it confirmed opt-in. As I mentioned, my recommendation for you as a deliverability person will be to always use the double opt-in method and also protect your forms with CAPTCHA. That is the only way to avoid bot attacks on your website. That this is something that will severely damage your reputation, and I see more and more of this happening these days. So yeah, highly recommending double opt-in and adding CAPTCHA to your forms. And to go back to the consent part, please make sure you only email people who want to hear from you, who provided explicit consent to receive your emails. That's really important. Another thing that's important is to regularly clean your list by removing the inactive subscribers. Usually for that, we recommend implementing a sunset policy and remove the inactive ones on a regular basis. We actually have a great article about that in our knowledge base, so I invite you to check it out and think about implementing this practice to your strategy. The second point is using that's really important, using engaging subject lines. Clarity and value will always bring great results. And in terms of bad practices here, please make sure you avoid clickbait. This doesn't work, I promise you, and will probably also hurt your reputation in the long run. So it's a no for me. And the other very disturbing pattern I've seen that senders continue for some reason to use is adding for reply and FWD for forward in front of their subject, in their subject line, in front of the subject itself, in the bulk marketing campaigns. This practice will destroy your sender reputation because first, it's misleading, and you will lose your subscribers' trust for sure. And second, and probably most important, is that this is something mailbox providers and their filters are specifically looking for and scanning for. And if they see marketing emails coming in with such subject lines, they will mark you as a spammer immediately. And the going back from there is really, really difficult. So please, at all costs, avoid this practice. It doesn't give results at all, and at the same time, it's damaging your reputation. And of course, with the subject line, it comes the from name. Some can argue that it's even more important than the subject line. I personally am one of the people who first look at the from name and then look at the subject line to decide if I will open an email. I assume I'm not the only one. So make sure you use a recognizable and trustworthy from name that your subscribers can easily associate with your brand and your domain. And on that front, I again strongly advise those of you who are still using shared domain to escape this practice and subscribe your custom one, because this will be good not only about your deliverability, but good for your brand recognition and image as well. To continue, another very important part of building strong strategy is finding the best time to send your campaigns. Here, my main recommendation will be to avoid sending at the top of the hour and also at the 15, 13, and 45 minute mark. That's something we have confirmed by mailbox provider. They don't like it, and they see huge spikes in the incoming traffic at these times. So schedule your campaigns at random times for a change. This will not only make your campaigns stand out in the inbox crowd, but will it also be highly appreciated by the mailbox provider. I'm sure about that. And as I mentioned earlier, as a tip, it might be also a good idea to split the daily campaign in different hours instead of sending everything at 14:32, for example. Make smaller lots and schedule in different times. I'm sure you get better results. If you don't trust me, test it out. You will see better engagement for sure. Then it comes to segmentation. We already talked about that a lot, how important it is in 2025. So this will be just another reminder to tailor your emails to your specific audience segments. And the more relevant your content is, the better the results will be. And of course, my favorite, engagement. Another reminder about the huge role it plays in deliverability. And I want to emphasize one more time, you need to always send emails that your audience wants. They requested them and they want to read and interact with them. That will bring results for sure. Avoid spikes is something I also mentioned a lot of times. Mailbox providers do not like them. I mean, any kinds of spikes. Gradual changes in the volume are better than sudden spikes. It's less suspicious to the mailbox providers and will bring you stronger reputation. And also, do not forget, every time you change something in your email setup, no matter if that's the domain or IP, you rebrand, you add new subdomain, like whatever you change, you need to do a warm-up. And we can help you with that. Actually, if you're planning any kind of change, I advise you to get in touch before that. We can make a schedule for you, prepare a warm-up plan, and make sure you get good results. And you won't destroy the new domain's reputation from the start. That's really important. Next tip I want to give you for building a good strategy is to be mindful about the email frequency. You need to find the right balance, and make sure you do not overwhelm your audience. Best advice will be to study your own recipients and adapt the frequency based of that. Like I mentioned with the unsubscribed, check regularly how the unsubscribe rate looks like. Check if your regular subscribers who engage all the time, like the most active ones, are slowing down, something changes. It might mean that they're tired, they receive too many emails. And another tip will be to check if you don't have automation workflows and segments overlapping. Like I had a case with a client. I subscribed for their newsletter, and on the first day I received 7 emails from them. When I asked them about this, they did not realize that this was happening. And it was coming from the fact that I simultaneously entered few different segments and respectfully few different workflows. That's why I received so many emails. They needed like 2 minutes to fix that. But it's another reminder to check what's going on. Probably subscribe for your emails if you're not doing that already. Test your workflows and make sure you are not sending too many emails. And once you are done with all of that, it comes the next most important part, that's monitoring and analyzing your results. Don't forget to check your statistics after each campaign. Look out for the metrics and signals we discussed earlier, and always make timely adjustments when needed. Use Omnisend's new reporting, it's awesome. And yeah, all those insights will help you to refine your approach and have the best strategy ever. And I see that we're almost reaching the end of our webinar, so I will stop talking now and open time for questions. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Desi. A lot of information. We've had a lot of questions for the Q&A. Our awesome team on the back end, who it goes nameless and mostly nameless and thankless, but we thank them for answering the questions there. We had a couple questions that I think are worth just kind of spending a minute talking about, just for everyone. Gentle reminder for everyone. I know we have someone in the chat asking about this, but we're getting to the top of the hour. This is being recorded. If you need to jump off to take care of other things, go to other meetings, get your day started or ended. We are recording this. We will send that out as well. So if you need to jump off, you're not going to miss the questions. You can always go back to it in the next day or two. So don't worry about leaving if you need to leave. All right. So Desi, you talked a couple minutes ago about specific metrics. And we've had a couple questions about metrics. So I just want to kind of recap that if we can. And specifically, we're looking for we got a question about specific metrics indicating whether it's good or bad results when it comes from open rate percentage, click rate, failed delivery, marked as spam, unsubscribes. And from my standpoint, as a strategist, former practitioner, former consultant on the email side, some metrics are going to have more weight than others. And we all know that, right? And some metrics you kind of need to benchmark against yourself. So I just want to throw a couple out there, which I think might be just generally impactful. So we have a stats report, our 2024 recap coming out, I believe later next week. So be sure to check out that on our social channels where you can look at industry data. So just a couple of things real quick. Open rates in 2024 globally across the board, 26.6%. So that just kind of gives you a general benchmark. Click rates, 1.2%. And conversion rates, roughly about the same right? It's at 0.07. It's a small percentage. That's pretty consistent year over year. But the one jump we're seeing, and this is more consumer trends, and this is probably where you're going to come in, Desi, a little bit with some of these metrics, is click to conversion rate. So that number has jumped a lot, and that is more indicative of consumer behavior. We are finding that, right, the economy just globally, it's still tight. People's wallets are squeezed. We saw it during the holiday season where people bought from fewer brands, but they were buying more from those brands. So consolidating purchases, which would tell you that general conversion rates might go down a little bit, but that's why your click to conversion rates are increasing. When they see something, clicking, they're buying, and we're seeing average order values from our brands go up as well. So why I say that, right? Opens 26.6%. It's a benchmark. If you are 22%, there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be based on industry a little bit, how often you're sending engaged contacts, which is where you're going to come in, Desi, because we're talking about engagement. I would always tell my clients, hey, if you've got a 22% open rate, your goal is to get to 23. And then when you get to 23, your goal is to get to 24. And you keep working your own list that way. Don't worry about what other people are doing because you don't know how they're treating their list, right? They could only be sending to engaged contacts, not sending to unengaged contacts, or keeping a clean list while the other company is just mass sending to everyone regardless of engagement, and they have a much lower open rate. So I would always tell people look internally there. So that's a long way to ask you a question, Desi. So the question is going to be, but we've gotten a bunch of questions on engagement. So specifically, are there certain percentages or kind of warning signs people should be looking for when it comes to spam rates, delivery rates, stuff like that, that would be indicative of a problem or a warning sign of a problem for deliverability?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting from the spam rate, it's almost definitely a problem if you constantly go above 0.3%. That's being communicated over and over again by Gmail, Yahoo, other providers. So yeah, you aim to stay always below 0.1. That's the recommended value. You don't want to go over that too often. Of course, one or two single mistakes won't matter that much if you're generally a good sender and have a good sending history, because what we've observed over the past few months is that history actually matters a lot. And if you follow best practices constantly, one or two mistakes will be forgiven. Normally, mailbox providers have pretty good judgment and can spot the people's good practices versus those who try to make shortcuts and have easy wins. In terms of open rate, it really depends on the industry you're in. There are different benchmarks there. So I advise you to follow these trends, look for what's the average in your own industry, and aim higher than that, of course. Generally, if I see open rates below 10%, I'll be very, very concerned, no matter the industry. Like that's really low open rate, in my opinion. Hope this answers the question.
It does. And I would always say, if I'm running an email program and I see 10% open raise, like I need to be at 16 as kind of a minimum there, right? 10%, you're going to go to one pretty quick. We get this question all the time. It wasn't asked today, but I just want to clarify. People always talk about inbox versus promotions tab when we talk about Gmail. And they're like, how do I get to the inbox and not the promotions tab? And I would tell you, you want to be in the promotions tab. You get to the inbox. I get brands in the promotions tab is the inbox, right? That's the one thing we need to pay attention to. When I get a brand email in my inbox, I get frustrated and I move it to promotions, right? I go to my inbox for that. When I go to promotions, it's because I want to see what a brand's doing. I want to check out the sale. I want to see new products, things like that. So if you're landing in the promotions tab, just consider that the inbox. Don't worry about it. It's actually good for you. Okay, we are pushing. I see you nodding and like, thank you for saying that, right? So I'm going to combine two questions because we have them here. I think it's important. It's something you mentioned before about avoiding spikes in sending. And there's some nuances based on seasonality with this, right? So you mentioned avoiding spikes during sending. How would you recommend scaling up a campaign for either a big product launch or the holiday season, which we know holiday season, we're going to see a spike. And I think most ISPs are expecting those things. But the flip side to that as well is do ISPs or mailbox providers differentiate between legitimate spikes and like seasonal campaigns and suspicious behavior? So kind of two similar questions, but I'll wrap them all into one for you, Tezzy.
Yeah, they absolutely do. As I said, they're pretty fair. The algorithms, we talked about that a lot, but they are scanning the content now pretty well, can find the relevance. And when we talk about holidays, seasonalities, they expect such spikes. So that's expected behavior. But my general recommendation is for you to plan ahead and, if possible, spread out this volume. If you know that in 2 or 3 months you have big campaign coming up, you might want to split it over a few weeks, for example, and do not send the entire volume at once in one single day. And this way you might actually give the audience more time to react. You may test different strategies, different approaches. So you can get a lot more benefits by doing that.
Awesome. And I think those are the biggest questions that we've had kind of left open, Yay. So I know we're 7 minutes over. I appreciate everyone who's still on, holding true. If you have any additional questions, if they're Omnisend related, please contact our 24/7 customer support team. You can do that right through the platform. So there's that option. If you are not an Omnisend customer, we gladly invite you over. But if you maybe have a question that you want to connect with one of us, we're friendly people. Find us on LinkedIn or however you want to as well. We can always chat about things. And then if you have a customer success manager, please feel free to reach out to them for help as well. So we are here to help. So with all that being said, we will send out the recording the next day or two whenever we get around to finishing that. So if you want to go back and listen to some of these questions again, please feel free to do so. With that being said, Desi, any closing comments you want to make for everyone before we log off here?
Yeah, just want to say thank you everyone for joining. It was a pleasure for me to share all this information. Hope it was not overwhelming, and feel free to reach out to us for any kinds of assistance. We are always happy to help you get to the inbox. That's our goal.
Very good. Thank you everyone for your time today, and happy marketing to you, and stay out of that spam folder. Cheers.
Bye everyone.